All right, welcome back to Active Mobility Online, standing or the most important athletic position, part 3, mobility. So one of the things that really keeps us from getting into a good standing position often is our hip flexors. There are a few hip flexors, but the rectus femoris, or this thigh muscle, is kind of the big one. And so as we work this out, and then we enter a sitting position for a long period of time, this just gets sort of stuck in this position. So then when we try to stretch that out to stand, it puts a lot of pressure on our pelvis, dumping our pelvis forward, which then in turn puts a lot of pressure on our low back. So we want to release some of the tension here in the hip flexor to be able to counteract or release some of that tension. So smashing and stretching this rectus femoris or hip flexor is a great place to start. It's not that there aren't other places that you can find useful time to spend, but that's a good place to begin. So we want to be warm, so doing some movement, and then sometimes smashing before you stretch is ideal. You could use a foam roller. I have a big old piece of PVC here, and I'll show you one other option. Your target is going to be sort of this outside edge of the thigh. Inner thigh and just the very top of the thigh aren't really capturing that hip flexor, so we want to be just outside, sort of where the top merges with the side, not all the way on the side, but if you're smashing this whole area, great. You're not wasting time, probably all of that stuff is tight, but we're really looking for this line from just in front of the hip, just outside and down towards the knee. And we want to hit this whole area. We want to get across the fibers, so you might choose to start up by the hip, moving side to side across those fibers. It does cross the knee, so if you find a spot that's tight and you want to do some flossing by getting across the knee, great. You'd want to spend probably 5 minutes each side. You could get both legs on there and sort of do inner thigh, outer thigh, top of the thigh, a little bit all at the same time with a baby crawl. But I would choose to focus just on this hip flexor part for the most part. Flexing through the quad, I'll face this way so you can see me. Flexing through the quad by locking the knee, taking that deep breath, and then long slow exhale to release that tension is a good way to sort of get a little bit deeper without as much displeasure or discomfort. And then flossing by bending at the knee is a great way to move through some of that tissue as well. Again, 5 minutes per side would be ideal. You could also, if you don't have a foam roller or a big chunk of PVC, you could use a wine bottle. It's going to serve a similar purpose and be pretty great. If it was a little bit too intense, you could fold your yoga mat over it to make it just a little bit softer. All right, so let's say we've done our smashing of the hip flexor. Now we want to stretch, and we're going to do so with a couch stretch. So key aspect of the couch stretch, we want to get in close, and then we want to get our knee right into the wall. So we want to be really consistent about this. If we're out a few inches, we don't really know if we're making progress, because we might be out an extra inch versus last time, or we might be a little bit closer versus last time. So we want our knee as close to the wall as we can without it touching, just because the touching would be uncomfortable. From here, we want to get tight through the front of the body. You may already feel a stretch in this position. Just bringing the pelvis towards neutral by tightening the front of the body, I can already feel a bit of stretch here. So that might be all you do, is just get into this position, knee right into the wall, ankle, knee, and hip all lined up, and just try to neutralize your pelvis. If that felt okay, you would then try to bring that other foot out front, and again, just hang out here, trying to activate the front of the body, bring the pelvis to neutral. So this is a very long muscle that we're stretching, so there's a lot of room for lengthening that can happen because it's so long. So over the course of maybe 2 minutes, you could get here. Being able to get then your torso more and more upright while keeping the pelvis neutral, turning that pressure on and off through the front is the goal. You probably want something to hold on to here to sort of brace yourself against. You could use a wall. Getting so that your shoulder blades are to that wall would be a goal. I'm not there right now because I'm not as warmed up and haven't smashed as much as I would like to. But again, you would want to spend at least 2 minutes here turning the activation on in the front, pulling the pelvis towards neutral, and then a little relaxation, activate, relax. And over the course of those 2 minutes, hopefully you would get to a different place than where you started. Okay, couch stretch, 2 minutes per side. Just doing smashing on one side and stretching on one side. Come back to your brace neutral and just see how that feels. Is it a lot more open on one side than the other? Probably it will be. Okay, so that's our hip flexors. The other part that can get gnarly is just our entire core. It's very hard to stretch the core. I'll show you a few things you can do, but smashing your core is one of the better things you can do for your low back and pelvis and sort of overall midsection feelings of goodness. How do we do that? We're going to get into the sideline position. I'm going to open up the area between my ribs and my hips, and I'm going to just lean that in onto the roller. Again, a foam roller can be good. And from here, now that I've got this open, I have to do some contract relax to turn off the defensive tension in my body. So I'm going to crunch a little bit, activating these muscles, pushing the roller out. Deep breath in. I'm going to hold for 4, 3, 2, 1. Then a long, slow, controlled exhale. I'm going to allow myself to relax onto the roller. So I've gotten rid of some of the defensive tension. So now I can start a little bit of movement from there, moving slowly towards the navel, towards the spine. On something like this, I wouldn't want to take it across my backbone, my spine. It might not feel great. And probably just a little bit of movement, I'll find another tight spot. So again, deep breath in, crunch just a little bit to get the pressure and tension into those muscles. Hold for 4, 3, 2, 1. Long, slow exhale. Trying to release that tension, inviting the implement into our viscera. It's good for you. It's good for us. We're doing this on purpose. And you would take that as close to the navel as you could, fairly close to the spine. Again, depending on what implement you're using, that'll feel good to uncomfortable. Something really hard, you might want to avoid getting too close to the spine. And if you feel anything really not good up in here, take it easy. So from there, if you did that, again, probably 5 minutes per side. You could try to lengthen your abdomen with like a baby cobra. So thinking about lengthening first, really getting long through the spine, and then opening the front of the body is a decent way to do some lengthening of those muscles. I also like the seated twist. So getting here, again, thinking about lengthening first, inhale, and then on an exhale, keeping that lengthened position and adding some rotation will help to get into those abdominal muscles for some length. But the smashing is really key because it's pretty hard to stretch your abdominal muscles without doing weird things to your spine. All right, enjoy your fresh feelings of standing.